from St. Louis Public Radio. This is St. Louis on the Air.
So she said, "Oh, really? Let's see what you got." And I said, right now? Like right here?" And she was like, "Yeah, go." And I was like, "Oh my goodness."
Did you go?
I did. I spit a spoken word poem for her, and she liked it enough to put me in the show that they had the following day. And I've been with the organization ever since.
That is a fast onboarding. Does it usually go like that?
No. No, not at all. No, there's normally a process.
Yeah, here I go. I just hope they understand me. They reckon and stacking up all the odds, and I'm still chilling on top like a canopy. Got my sight on the enemy. Tell a press that.
Yeah, and even though a lot of people don't want to hear that part of the just like what's going on in the city, but as long as we stick together, that's kind of what it is. So
I'm Sarah Fensky.
I noticed the patterns. Know when we say that we matter, it doesn't mean no one else matters. Know that we matter. Know when the bar is too high.
Each year, more and more Americans are celebrating Juneteenth. The holiday began in Texas to celebrate the end of slavery, and it's spread from there. It's now an official holiday for both city and county. Some local universities, including UMSL, give employees the day off. If you celebrate Juneteenth, you may want to do so this Saturday with the Story Stitchers. The nonprofit arts collective tells stories about St. Louis using rap, rhythm, spoken word, singing, and dancing. Artists help youth ages 16 to 24 find their voice with a goal of curbing gun violence and increasing civic pride. Their latest single, released earlier this year, gives a good idea of Story Stitchers' flavor. It's called Worthy.
Hurt to see them winning when they ain't nearly as gifted. Thinking the game is equal than losing cause of your pigment. Traumatized with no trauma units to help you heal it. Pain is love, persevering. Perception isn't. I'm putting off these foggy lenses, leaning on the gifts of my senses. Knowing that your power's within me, determined so I fight to the finish. I'ma drink big, yeah, I'ma go far. Never let a single doubt in my thoughts, cause I'm
And that is Worthy by the local arts collective Story Stitchers. They have several events scheduled for Juneteenth this weekend. And my two guests today are here to tell us about those events and their work. And they're actually both featured on that track. Shekinah Taylor grew up in St. Louis and now lives in Florissant. She performs with Story Stitchers, and she can be heard in the chorus that we just heard. Shekinah, welcome.
hi, thank you for having me here.
And Branden Lewis could also be heard in that first verse. He is Story Stitchers' Youth Programming Coordinator. Branden, welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
So, Branden, you're 23. I understand you joined Story Stitchers right out of high school. What got you interested?
Well, I went to a performing arts school, Central Visual Performing Arts, and a few of my friends were already a part of St. Louis Story Stitchers. At the time, one of my friends was going into the Army Reserves. He was about to leave for boot camp training, and I wanted to see his last show to help support him. Show with Story Stitchers, actually not far from here in Strauss Park. I came to the show to support him and the other friends that I had that were in Story Stitchers, and one of them just so happened to tell our director that I was an artist as well. So she said, "Oh, really? Let's see what you got." And I said, right now? Like right here?" And she was like, "Yeah, go." And I was like, "Oh my goodness."
Did you go?
I did. Part of my artistry is spoken word poetry. Thankfully, spoken word poetry is just kind of something that you can do at any time.
Yeah.
So I spit a spoken word poem for her, and she liked it enough to put me in the show that they had the following day. And I've been with the organization ever since.
That is a fast onboarding. Does it usually go like that?
No. No, not at all. No, there's normally a process.
No.
There's definitely normally a process, but I've been with the organization ever since then.
That's amazing. Well, they clearly made a good bet on you. Shekinah, what was your process of getting involved with this?
Yes. So St. Louis Youth Jobs is actually how I got involved in 2018. It's just like a program for people to get like jobs during the summertime when you get out of high school. So that's kind of what I did. The job that I actually was going to apply to was called Dream Center. And that's like serving, helping the homeless, and I love serving. So I didn't really know too much about St. Louis Story Stitchers. My siblings was the ones who actually got involved with that. And I kind of like overheard, you're over their shoulder and trying to sneak what they're doing. So that's kind of what I did. And Miss C actually told me I can go to orientation on Thursday. So I went to orientation with them. And I was like, okay, this is more like gun violence, and it's like, but it's also an artist collective group as well. So you can like able to create yourself in like whatever skills you have, which is singing for me. So I was like, wow, that's so cool. So after that, I was like, but I still want to go to the orientation for Dream Center. So, which was the next following day, which was Friday. So I did do that. And they told me I need to choose by that weekend because both jobs started on Monday. And I was like, which one do I really want to do? And I know like it would probably help my siblings because like we was kind of low on the car vehicle stuff. So I was like, we could just drop all of us off at one location. Yeah. And I was like, it wasn't bad. So I was like, okay, Story Stitcher this. And since being more involved with it, I can see like it is so much impactful with just like what my skills, what I do, and also just my view of like how everything they do about the organization. So I was like, oh my gosh, I love this.
As a mom, I love that you were trying to make it easier for the people who had to do drop-offs for you and your siblings. That's a very selfless thing, but it ended up working out great.
Yes.
You feel like, as a performer, this is something where you can really flex your muscle.
Of course, yes, definitely.
And Branden, something interesting that Shekinah sort of alluded to there, this is something where the youth involved get paid.
Absolutely. That's definitely one of the things that at least I find to be unique to Story Stitchers. If you're an artist, whether or not you're trying to take it seriously or whether you want a career in art, you've at the very least kind of pictured yourself at the mountaintop. You know, if you're an aspiring actor, you've thought about winning an Oscar. A songwriter would think about winning a Grammy, so on and so forth. So one of the things that you also think about when you fall in love with the art is what it'd be like to get paid for that art. And so because of St. Louis Story Stitchers, like you said earlier, I came in straight out of high school. And I was a 17-year-old kid getting paid for my art.
Yeah, that's huge.
Absolutely. And so it really gives other aspiring artists something to look forward to. Not only are you getting paid, but you're honing your craft. We do rehearsals. We do all of these other things. I haven't stopped performing since I went into Central Visual and Performing Arts because of joining the organization. So all of this time just honing my craft and whatnot. And so you get to become a better artist and also get paid to do so, which is a win-win to me.
That's super cool. And you're doing this in pursuit of a good cause. Story Stitchers is very interested in curbing gun violence in the city. At the same time, you're also trying to have a more positive representation of St. Louis. I feel like those goals could sometimes potentially be in conflict. Talking about the reality of life in St. Louis, it's sometimes not all good. How does Story Stitchers balance those two things?
Well, one thing that we don't do is we don't pretend it's all sunshine and rainbows. Yeah. You know, we don't pretend it's all perfect. We just believe that it's better than what people tend to portray. Especially someone that doesn't live in St. Louis. You know, St. Louis oftentimes, unfortunately, has the highest murder rate in the country, unfortunately. But even that being said, there are beautiful places here. There are good people here. Yeah. There are people trying to make changes and whatnot. And so we try to bring more light to that side of things because it usually gets brushed under the rug a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's how we that's how we try to balance. We try to give a positive representation, but if we need to talk about an issue that's ugly, that's not a pretty thing to talk about, we're not gonna stray away from talking about it just because it's not pretty. You know, we understand that having uncomfortable conversations are a part of bringing change, and fortunately, more often than not, those things tend to work together more often than they clash. But when they do clash, we go with what's more important, which is often talking about the ugly thing.
Talking about the real, yeah. So Shekinah, this idea of trying to combat gun violence through art, how do you go about doing that as a story stitcher?
Yes. So doing that, so like I sing. And I, the singing part of me, I always did that when I was young. It started like in church and stuff. So I was been part of the choir and just like growing up more, being a part of Story Stitchers, it helped with my skill doing that. I didn't know too much how to write, like singing wise and like doing like targeting like things that are going on in today's city. So when I was part of Story Stitcher, well, still am, when I'm doing that, I was just like, how am I supposed to talk about that and just like, touch bases on what's going on? So we do like songs like Who's Ready, like the one, and it's more upbeat, but at the same time, it's still targeting in a way that people can like grasp it and what's going on. So I was just like, okay, so this is how you're supposed to do it. So I just kind of like I guess like you can say like just touch bases on stuff that's going on, but at the same time not going like making it seem like unattentional for like people to not like want to listen to.
Yeah.
So Who's Ready is more like upbeat. It still like targets like gun violence and stuff, but still like we want change, we want revolution, and I think it helps too because it's like a lot of young people that's involved as well. So I think that's kind of like when we go to like shows and stuff like that, people see it kind of like wants them like okay, like they it's like serious, like they want change. So
People see there's other young people standing in opposition to this stuff that's bad. You guys are standing for what's good.
yes.
We're talking today to two of the story stitchers. That's Shekinah Taylor, who's a performer with the group, and Branden Lewis, who is the youth programming coordinator, joined in high school and now works for the organization. And we want to mention story stitchers have two performances this Saturday. They'll celebrate Juneteenth at the Craft Alliance. That's at 5080 Delmar from 12:30 to 1 p.m. and in Old North St. Louis from 2:30 to 3 p.m. We have all those details on our website if you want to partake in those events. We really recommend this, stlonair.show, to get all of those details. Shekinah, what are you going to be performing this weekend?
Yes. So I actually am going to be performing in 3 different songs. Who's Ready, the one I talked to you before, another song called Wade Reprise, and a song called Worthy.
Now, we're going to hear here, we heard I'm Worthy a little bit there in the intro.
Yes.
We want to hear a little bit of Wade Reprise. This is something that you can hear if you go out and see Shekinah this weekend. Wade Reprise, it's from the album The Why of My City.
We rise, we shine now. We fly, we soar through the clouds. We rise, we shine now. We're never falling down. We rise, we shine now. We fly, we soar through the clouds. We rise, we shine now.
Hey,
Never falling down.
they got my fuse lit. Ain't nothing I can buy with your 2 cents. Step in my mess and get swept like a broomstick. Ayy, ain't that what happened with dirt? And when I'm at my worst, I can still trust the process. If it's in you, your progress. And make meals out the food that the ones that were bringing you down couldn't even digest, but I digress. Look,
Never to never, we never falling down.
never.
Never to never, we never falling down. We never to never, we never falling down.
Never.
We never to never, we never falling down.
Look, we wanna change and we wanna grow. You wanna wait a
And that is Wade Reprise from 2021, the Story Stitchers album, The Why of My City. So, Shekinah, your voice sounds incredible.
Thank you.
That's a
Thank you.
Great song. I understand you not only helped perform these songs, you had a hand in writing the choruses of them.
Yes.
So tell us about what these songs are about. Who is Wade and what's the reprise?
Yes. So for Wade Reprise, the chorus is "We shine, we rise now." So basically, that's just us like staying together. And it has like the part like we're never falling down. You heard that part a couple times. So even if someone does fall down, you're not going to see them because we're all going to pick each other up no matter what. So that's kind of what that is. And just like we're always shining together throughout any other circumstances going on. Just like you said, we touch the bad and the ugly.
Yeah.
And even though a lot of people don't want to hear that part of the just like what's going on in the city, but as long as we stick together, that's kind of what it is. So we're going to rise on the occasion, whatever like comes our way. So that's kind of what that song's about. The other song, what is Worthy, is that we're worthy of what we're doing. So that's kind of like our perspective, like how we see and view things, and just like how we portray certain things or how people view things as well. And when we sing that song and just kind of like they're hearing like a different version of like how young people are like how we wrote on paper and how we're singing it, it just kind of like shows them a bit different broad like light of like what we're actually coming to you guys about, like information, what was going around the city as well. So that's kind of what that song's about as well.
So, Branden, these performances are part of the Story Stitchers Pick Up the City tour.
Yes.
What's the focus of that tour?
So the Pick the City Up tour is like we mentioned earlier about how St. Louis often gets a bad rep. It's a really, really famous city full of history, but it often gets a bad rep because of things that are often portrayed in certain news outlets or whatnot. And so Pick the City Up is, again, about balancing that out with the more positive things. There are hundreds of groups that are working to combat things like gun violence and homelessness and all of these other issues that we have. Unfortunately, they don't get as much media attention because it's just not as interesting. You know, let's just call a spade a spade. That's usually what it is. A video on social media about two people fighting will get a bunch more
Everybody
views
wants to see that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
you know. So people are going to put out what people want to see. And unfortunately, they don't want to see us uplifting the city. Fortunately for Story Stitches, we don't care.
Yeah,
So
we're
we're going to do it anyway.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do it anyway.
I love that. And I understand this Saturday's performances are also going to feature work from the Perception Isn't Always Reality initiative. That's another
Yes.
Story Stitchers project. Tell us just a
Absolutely.
bit about that.
So we were one of 30 organizations funded by the CDC Foundation to boost vaccine confidence. And so what this project was, we partnered with St. Louis City and County Libraries, the Missouri Department of Health, Wash U's Department of Health, and we had dance battles that we did last summer where we also had vendors. So Wash U came out. We got who was Dr. Eccles, who was the director
The
of
City
the
Health
Department of
Director.
Health. Exactly,
Yeah.
at that time. He came out and we just had an honest conversation in the middle of the dance battle. There was a point where we gave the dancers a break. They were really going at it. They needed a break anyway.
Yeah.
So we gave them a break and we brought Dr. Eccles up. And the crowd just kind of lined up at a microphone to ask the serious questions they had, because we understand that any hesitancy in a vaccine is understandable. You know, so we didn't want to push away anybody's feelings or whatnot. We understand why you might be hesitant for something like that. And so the Perception Isn't Always project was pretty much a cycle of us bringing in health professionals so that you can ask them questions directly, whatever reservations you might have about the vaccine or about the virus as a whole. You can ask them directly and hear it straight from the horse's mouth, so that there's less room for misinterpretation. I find that a lot of people that were against the vaccine, at least that I know, were usually felt that way because of some sort of misinformation that they had, whether or not it be that they thought that it would make them immune to the vaccine or whatever the case may be. So this project, it wasn't about pushing the vaccine on people, but clearing up any misunderstandings they have so that they can make an informed decision.
Again, getting out that truth, that
Exactly.
reality, meeting people with the answers where they're at. This
Exactly.
is such good work
Absolutely.
you guys are doing. And
Thank you.
We
Thank
do want to
you.
encourage people this Saturday. You can see Story Stitchers live in
yes,
person, celebrating Juneteenth at the Craft Alliance. That's at 5080 Delmar from 12:30 to 1 p.m. and in Old North St. Louis from 2:30 to 3. Branden Lewis, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And Branden is the Youth Programming Coordinator for Story Stitchers, and Shekinah Taylor, a performer. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Knowing that your power's within me, determined, so I fight to the finish. Hey, yeah. I'ma drink big, yeah. I'ma go far, never let a single doubt surmount.
Today's episode was produced by Emily Woodbury with audio engineering and podcast design by Aaron Dorr. Our production intern is Avery Rogers. Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri, St. Louis.
Leaning on the gifts of my senses. Hey, yeah. Knowing that your power's within me, determined, so I fight to the finish. Hey, yeah. I'ma drink big, yeah.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.